Yes.
As opposed to like just digging early spring before they really leaf out. It would be too.
You could do that, but like I also need to know like how many kiwi do I have, because I don't want to oversell or undersell. Right. So you got to dig them, you got to count them. And then they need to be stored so they stay dormant.
And is this a good time to talk about the nitty gritty of like how are you storing them, or are we gonna go and look?
No, a container's not set up, so we're not going to go into that. But I mean, it's really simple. It's just one of those big fabric pots that like grow shows use. Yeah. Usually 30 gallons is about the size, filled with sawdust that I can safely lift. Right. And yeah, one of those, like, you know, it depends on the tree, but like for hazelnuts, I can fit, you know, 200 hazelnuts in one of those pots. And so I have a shelf system in there, and yeah, it can fit about 90 pots. But you know, like some of the other ones, like, you know, 50 to 100 kiwis fit in one of those pots. So yeah.
So it's just pure sawdust. Like you wash off the soil.
Yeah.
Then do they go into the sawdust moist from the wash?
I make sure that the sawdust is moist.
The sawdust is moist, and it's okay if the roots are moist from the wash. Yeah,
and it's all cedar sawdust, so it's pretty like antifungal. Because you were talking about learning about bare root stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I have some shrubs, but mostly it's like perennials, right? And so
yeah. The herbaceous stuff.
You wash the soil off?
Yeah, definitely.
So you're not transferring soil to other people's gardens?
Yeah, well, it's just because my soil's valuable, man. Like, I don't know.
But there could be pathogens in it, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted it, like when I import rootstock from the States, like it's fumigated, I'm not really worried about the pathogen stuff with soil. Like you could wash it all day and it still could potentially be on there. But it's just, you know, to make this stuff affordable for people, to make it bare root, like so that it can be shipped in the mail. I mean, it's amazing. Like, you know, I can put a good sized order together for people, and it's not going to cost that much money to ship, because it's just all these roots just squished together, and the stems all kind of, that's why it's like a little ugly broomstick. But you know, there's 20, 30 plants in there, and yeah, it's like Newfoundland, Yukon. They'll be there in 2 weeks.
And I can vouch, that's how I know Brian, is I bought a bunch of stuff from him a few years ago. So
yeah.
I bought more of the nuts than the bare root.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
It's real well.
Yeah.
Got lots of trees happening.
It works.
And you store in cedar sawdust?
Yeah, whatever I got, but usually cedar's fine.
Cedar, like I've heard cedar can be not so good for plants or whatever, but
it's fine. Yeah, myths.
Dig up in fall and then just ship it to people in fall and be like, plant this right now in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard window, because like if I'm waiting to the end of October, there's not a lot of other places in Canada that I still can plant at that time. I am considering it this year if I can get a bunch of pre-orders, at least in areas that are like, you know, and a certain size order. So be nice to not have to store.
Yeah.
But for local pickup, like if you come here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I was saying, that's a nightmare to deal with. So it's like, if you want to buy 100, sure. You want to buy 5, you can wait till the spring. Right. So I'm working all that out as just kind of a business and logistics. Like what's possible is not always what's doable. You know, so yeah, I mean, as my systems dial out and I can figure out kind of the logistics of everything, fall would be a nice time to get rid of some plants. But I'm also cool to just keep it simple, and you know, you want to get plants, you order them in the winter, you get them in the spring.
And then for the forbs, that's just instead of sawdust, like for your herbs, for example.
Sure.
You're just keeping it in the plastic bag.
It's root divisions at that point, right? So the top material's gone. And I just have the roots, and it would be hard for you because like forbs would be a bunch. It would be like a set.
One plant.
Yeah, but I think honestly you could just pack them in a flat with sawdust and then pull those out and then bag them up. So you're not sending out soil, so you're saving on cost. Your customers get more affordable plants. You can do things in greater numbers that way, and then store them efficiently, right? The first 3 years of doing this, I didn't have a shipping container. I took all the plants, dug them up, counted them. I had a wood chip hole, right? I neatly organized them in that. And then it would be March, and I'd be like, okay, I have all these orders. It's time to get them to new people. And like the wood chip hole would be frozen, and I'd be like in there with like an ice pick and like the salt to de-ice it, and just like, so like the shipping container was a big upgrade. It's definitely nice, but it's possible to do it outside. All right, we're gonna move to the middle to check things out, but
excuse me, Brian.
Yeah.
So you plant in the spring. What do you do for weed pressure? Like in between, do you cover the ground, or is that
Like in between when I harvest and the.
like because so you harvest all the seedlings, the cuttings in the fall.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna plant again in the spring, right?
Yeah.
So right in between is the weed doesn't have time to come out. Or
No, there's 3 feet of
cover it,
there's
or-
3 feet of snow here.
Okay, so when you plant, just when the snow is gone, you plant right away.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's I love April, right? Like April's a fun month.
And
March
you
if
don't
it's an
cover
earlier.
the path, or you just waited by hand.
Yeah, I mean, if I had all the time and resources in the world, we would remodel the field in the fall and sawdust the pathways and wood chip the beds, and it would just be ready to plant. I don't have time for that. I'm counting and storing, so it's kind of like the one plant I did want to point out before we move to the middle of the field, Goumi Berry. Has anyone heard of Goumi berries before?
Sure, yeah.
All right, cool. That's going to be the new super hot.
One by Tag and Beach.
G-U-L what?
Talk to me, dude. What?
Really good one by Tag.
All right. Yeah. I get mine from a bush in Balfour. Yeah, Goumi. It's related to like autumn olive and Russian olive. It's an Elaeagnus. It fixes nitrogen. It lives in poor soils. It produces berries that cling on the bush. They don't just drop off, so it has this big long harvest window. They are long lived. They, often are 5 to 10 feet tall, but the one I saw is like 20 feet tall and super wide. They have a little bit of thorns so they can resist browse pressure, but not so much that you're just stabbing yourself constantly. The main phytonutrient in there is something called lycopene. This is the main brain boosting chemical in tomatoes. It has a lot more than tomatoes. Tomatoes suck. They're a tropical plant. This thing actually is supposed to grow here. So grow Goumi berries because they're awesome. That's my plug for Goumi berries. All right, let's go to the middle of the field and I'll point some more stuff out.
Yeah, what is that plant?
That is tobacco. That's our guardian. He's just kind of protecting the field.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The bugs and stuff.
Evil spirits.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys line up kind of in the middle over there, I can point.
Time check, we're quarter after 12.
Oh God.
So we're still doing good.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna keep the next sections brief so that we can kind of walk back over there and kind of dive into a lot of this stuff. I definitely want to give a big PSA for chestnuts. They are our bread tree, right? They produce a carbohydrate nut, not like a fatty nut like a lot of the other nuts. They're really adaptable. They're really easy to graft. There's so much diversity in the genome. They're very cross-cultural. I mean, you talk to Koreans about this or Italians, Japanese. It's just ubiquitous across so many different cultures. Before the American chestnut went extinct, right? It was like the main subsistence crop for farmers and foragers in the southeast. There's a big problem when it went downhill. So grow chestnuts so we don't have to grow corn anymore. We can feed livestock with these things. We can make our breads and stuff. Is it going to replace wheat entirely? No, but to have a huge carbohydrate crop coming out of something with intact soil that's creating shade and ecosystems is really important. So this is why chestnuts are gaining in popularity. They're like the polar bear of the plant world. Everybody's rallying around them, especially the American chestnut. These are all hybrids, so I could kind of go on about all the different hybrids and places I collect chestnuts from. Read about it on the website. Same deal for hazelnuts. We garden, we grow vegetables, we want to feed ourselves and be self-sustaining, but you're still going to the store for coconut oil and olive oil and the actual things that feed you calories, right? And there's not really any getting around that. Calories in, calories out. So you can grow all the kale that you want, but you're going to starve to death. You grow hazelnuts, you can make it through the winter. This is our oil crop, right? This is what gets us through temperate winters.
What's your plan for beating the squirrels?
Yeah, that's I can make a note of that quick. Well, people with hazelnut orchards have Jack Russell Terriers, right? So there's a way to do it. You can overwhelm them by putting a bunch of beaked hazels on the edges. So it's not about killing your pest pressure. It's about providing enough abundance that they're not going to come into the middle where it's dangerous, is a technique.
Oh, I heard too, in a podcast or something, planting them so they don't touch, because the squirrels would be less likely to like run across the ground to get to the next tree.
Yeah, the circle of fear, right? And then also, so just for your own foraging purposes, because there's so many hazelnuts this year, it's time. You don't have to wait for them to turn brown or hit the ground, right? As soon as I think the involucre disconnects from the husk, right? So you literally, it's like grab one off a tree, it's gonna be really green, you're like, there's no way this is ready. If you can pop the cap cleanly off, it's ready. It will ripen on your counter. Yeah, so that's a way to beat them, because they're waiting too. They're like, I don't know. And they didn't pop them off, but they can smell it and they know it. So.
One question about the chestnuts.
Yeah.
Like just for me personally, I have a piece of raw land that has no irrigation, and the chances of me like going there very often to like hand water saplings is low.
Yeah. Can you do it?
Like chestnuts, like I could plant them, like, you know, plant more than I expect to survive.
Yeah.
You think they're like, what do you think are the chances of those surviving?
Yeah, I couldn't give you a number, but like I think it's over the long term, they can, like, there's certainly tons of chestnuts in the Kootenays that aren't irrigated, but they probably had some help their first couple of years. So it's, you know, it's one of those things like, I mean, wouldn't it be nice if kids were this way? If you could just get them through the first 3 to 5 and say, all right, you're good. But, you know, tree crops are like that. If you can get them through that initial phase, and that's not meaning like you need to show up with all your irrigation equipment, but like, you know, in the dry season, if you can show up with a bucket of water once every 10 days, that'd be nice. I mean, definitely consider, you know, earthworks, how the water moves through the landscape. If you can retain water on that landscape, then you're going to have a better chance at survival. Deep mulch, right? When people start like, hey, how should I plant this tree? Should I add all this compost? And it's like, you know, you can juice that hole right up, but more than anything, just, you know, get mulch around the base of that tree and retain that water. Pick a reasonable site, you know? And if you fail, try again, because it might not just be impossible. You just might have picked the wrong site. So, all right, so if you guys want to follow me back this way, we're going to go check out the interior of the field. And yeah, definitely notice how densely things are planted. I mean, one of these beds usually is 300 to 400 plants, hopefully. So even if you're just growing for your own homestead and you're looking to get a bunch out, you don't need to dedicate a huge part of your farm to it. You can get a lot out of a small space.
So these are only 1 year old, eh?
Yeah. And like, these are only 1 year old. Same soil. Why are they growing so differently? Different genetic stock. And sometimes I just don't know why they're growing differently. It's like, you know, that's just the way it goes. But yeah, they're pretty, right? They're very pretty plants. Cool, so we'll dive back into the air prune section. We'll kind of find a little spot for everybody to set up.
If you can repeat a little bit more, that'd be great.
Oh, right. Oh, man. Yeah. Cool, yeah, if you guys just want to spread out in these beds, I'll kind of point some things out. Once again, there's probably too much to actually reference, but we'll hit some of the highlights. Yeah, we'll let everybody trickle in here. Cool. So this is one I might stop growing because the seed's hard to find. They're really marginal in our climate, but man, they're easy to sell. Because everybody's excited about persimmons. And these are persimmons. They look tropical because they damn near are. We're right on the edge of where they could possibly grow. You know, persimmons might make it up to southern Ontario and do well. I think what we're looking at here is a lot of trial and error. So buy a persimmon from me, but be warned that you're embarking on an experiment and it's probably not going to go well. I'm cool with that as long as you are, right? And that's the same for paws, right? Everybody else's favorite fruit, and I get it, right? It's the largest fruit native to North America. They taste like a strawberry mixed with a mango. They have these beautiful deciduous leaves, and that's all great. I just kind of question, it's like, you know, is our our heart's in the right place, right? We want to grow our own food, but we're so obsessed with sweet stuff and big stuff. And then you get it and you're so disappointed because it didn't grow. But meanwhile, we're cool with spraying autumn olive when it's producing this super nutrient dense berry that is fixing nitrogen in the landscape. It doesn't take any effort to grow. Why aren't we fixating on that? Oh, because it's not the largest North American fruit that tastes like a strawberry mixed with a mango.
Well, it's so astringent, and berries are like that.
Nah, they're so good. Astringent's an opinion. I hear you. I know what you mean.
I mean, you're like, it seems to go in your mouth.
Really? You haven't had good autumn olives before?
One on my property. It's producing like crazy, but
Might be a bad variety.
you might be.
Yeah. And that's, I just like, I'm going to stop growing pawpaws. And because like often the people who want pawpaws are like the most fickle of people to deal with. So that's okay. I mean, I get why people, but it's not, to me, it doesn't really represent food security the way like an autumn olive would, right? Like,
I think the birds love it.
well, there you go. Yeah. And it's just like, pawpaws are great for Ontario. They don't really love like super dry summers. So definitely consider like how appropriate is this plant for your place, as opposed to like, man, I just want that because it has a big old fruit on it. Non-king cherries are a nice example of a cherry that grows really well. It's so disease resistant compared to our sweet cherries. They're just not super sweet. They're a little bit more tart. And you could look at them as bird food. I mean, one bush is going to produce enough berries for a family for a year. So, you know, it's kind of like picking the right plant and then augmenting our flavor choices as far as like what we do as consumers. But then, yeah, if you're a farmer and you're like, I'm trying to grow stuff that's going to be well received, yeah, you could try to put in a persimmon grove. You just might be like beating your head against the wall for 20 years until you find a variety that works. Buzz Ferber from Perfect Circle Farms, he's in Vermont, and he's trying to find persimmons that will work. And I forget his numbers, but he's planted out rows and rows of these things just to see which ones will even overwinter. And it's like 1 in 100 overwinter. And then out of that, which one of those actually produce fruit? You know, it's another 1 in 100. So like, it's totally possible, but it's going to take a while. And
the
so,
part is getting the persimmon to ripen.
yes,
And that's going to take years to find out.
yes, right, because there's a lot in Persia, right?
I missed it so much. I wanted to have it, and I planted a bunch too, but I don't think they're going to ripen.
No.
Like Frank and Libby in Deer Park.
Yeah.
They have a mature tree.
Yeah.
And for years they've been waiting for it to ripen. So every year it sets lots of fruit, but it just like a tomato. It needs to go past a certain point.
Yeah.
It never gets past that.
And maybe that's, you know, growing degree days. And we are in a shifting climate. So, you know, I have a bed of northern pecan over there. And it's, you know, how many hickories can we think about that are in the Kootenays that are producing? Very few to none. Even if they're producing, are they full nuts that have like developed kernels? There are some in like Caramias and stuff. My buddy planted a bitternut hickory in Burton and a shagbark, and they just started cropping. So after 15 plus years, and they have full nuts. So it's like, whoa. But maybe now we're just getting into the beginning of the growing degree days where there's enough heat units that it's possible. So you can plant for the future and not have it work for the now kind of thing. And that's, you know, that's the chance that you take. That's how we figure out, you know, resilient food systems.
What about figs? Do you do any figs?
I did just start doing some fig cuttings. Yeah, I mean, that's greenhouse life. Not that I don't, not all about that. I just, you know, I'm trying to grow the hardier stuff. So maybe in the future, once my fig bush gets big and I have enough cuttings, but yeah.
Frank and Libby have figs too.
Oh yeah.
But they insulate it.
Oh yeah, they got a good harvest.
Yeah.
But they insulate it?
They pin it to the ground and mulch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, there's techniques to be able to pull some of these edge species off. It's just like, how hard do you want to work? You know, especially when there's other things that just throw down, right?
Like figs in their native environment, they set fruit twice a year.
Sure.
But here you only get that one time.
Yeah.
It never kind of reaches its maximum potential.
Italy sounds nice.
Yeah, but it tastes good.
Cool. Yeah, so we can talk a little bit more about the air prune beds. So these are the ones that are insulated. The ones we can kind of make our way back over here and show you. Yeah, these beds are all like 2 to 3 feet deep. Yeah.
And then there's like hardware cloth.
That's right. Well, it's like, so the way I built these, so we can kind of talk about it, it's basically a bunch of pallets lined out, and then the hardware cloth goes over that. I had these studs up, and then I just get slab wood from the mill to make the siding. You know, what I would do in hindsight kind of thing was really make sure there's no gaps, because rodents will tunnel and then they can get in. So I kind of find that out after the fact. Like, you know, I'll pull off the non-king cherry bed and find out that a rodent got in there, and then another bed next to it will be totally untouched. I'm like, that bed's good. Oh, that's where they got in. I dig down, I patch the hole. Would have been better to really make sure it was more airtight in the beginning. But yeah, it's kind of the flow for that. So
there's no cloth on the sides.
Nope, it's just wood.
So it's, sorry, it's a pallet underneath?
Yeah.
A wood pallet?
Yeah, with quarter-inch hardware cloth on top of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that air gap, and that's...
Exactly, that's enough. The roots won't go into the ground from there.
Right.
Yeah, totally. And
Have you
so,
ever had problems with roots getting through because of debris buildup?
no, not that I've seen. And I mean, we know, because when we harvest them, you would notice it. No, it's really cool. When they hit the mesh, they kind of just stop. You know, yeah, it works out really well. For smaller growers, you can make these little air prune boxes, and so that's what I did to start. And so yeah, you can kind of see the whole structure, right? It's just that quarter-inch hardware cloth on the bottom. Yeah, if you're gonna make a handheld box, it's nice to have it be, I don't know, 8 inches deep, and 15 by 15 inches is about, you know, what I want to lift. But yeah, these work really well, and I'll make sure to prop, because if this was just sitting on the ground, they would go into the ground at that point. So I got them up on these. But this is my evolution, was kind of just like, I had 100 of these, and then the ones above ground, and I was just like, wait, this isn't efficient. I'll do it on single pallets. So I did that, and then I was like, wait, I should just line a bunch of these up in a row, and why am I having the gaps? So I did that. So it's all kind of like an evolution of what made sense at the time. I think if I redid it, it would be probably just a lot of these. But yeah, these are like when I have small seed batches, I go into the smaller ones. Yeah, so that's kind of my air prune bed talk. We'll set that over.
Just how do you harvest? Like, do you take it fully apart, or?
No, and I mean, there are people who will disassemble their whole box. I think on small scale that's good. I just don't want to take the time to reconnect everything together.
You just like dig right into it?
Yeah, like when I first start the initial harvest, it's really, you know, because you don't want to pry back and pop out boards. So like when you first get into it, it's hard, and you want to be careful. But once you get like a foot into it, then you're just going down the row. And you know, you can use forks, digging forks, or the nursery shovels, the big, long, kind of like narrow blades that are flat, not spade where it's like curved. That's key for harvesting, honestly, any perennials, whether you're in the field or in air prune beds, is having that flat shovel so that, you know, you dig down, but it's not curved so that it hits roots that you don't want it to. Yeah, it's a good way to harvest plants. So yeah, I think from here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go out towards those walnuts. We could all kind of sniff some walnut leaves because they smell awesome.
Like that air pruning is just the pallet at the bottom that makes the air gap?
Yeah,
okay.
totally.
On the side, what is it? Like just...
It's just the wood. Yeah, yeah.
Wood? Is it
yeah,
not? Okay.
yep, totally. Yeah.
And the quarter-inch hardware cloth.
Yeah, you could get away with half-inch probably, especially if you just like laid wood chips down to start.
Go in that wood the roots won't go in that wood chip through that hardware cloth?
Nope. No, because like in between there's a pallet gap of, you know, 4 inches or so.
At the bottom,
Yeah.
not on the side.
No, that's just wood, right? Yeah. Oh, I'm sure there's some roots that try to sneak out, but
Right.
Yeah.
Not enough to be a problem.
no, they pop out pretty well. And I mean, I see, it's like if you were to take a nursery pot or any of these plants that were grown in a pot and shake the soil off of it and look at that root system compared to like one of these Asian pears and look at that root system, and you'd be like, whoa, like, there's a huge difference, right? And there's so much resource dedicated even just to a single 1 gallon pot versus this. And you're gonna have a more robust root system from less resources and less work. I'm not, you know, shipping pots and, you know, gallons of soil all over the country. It just kind of makes the most sense, you know, as far, and like I should give a little background, like when people would first order nursery plants, if you look back to like the early 1900s, this is how it was done. It was catalog based. You'd say, I'll take, you know, 4 Shumard oak and 3 sand cherries, and then they would show up to you bare root in the spring. It really wasn't until the last, you know, 50 years where our culture shifted to these, retail space nurseries where you want to go, you don't trust it unless it's green leafed and you can see it, it looks nice in the showroom. But what you get out of that is planting something when it's not dormant, bad. Planting something that's root bound, bad, right? And it's just, and then it's marked up, right? Because all that cost that goes into having the showroom and having it in this pot and having it take way more space, right? Like this one bed of Asian pears is going to be a couple hundred. If I were to grow a couple hundred Asian pears in gallon pots, it'd be like this whole area, right? And they're going to have better root systems. So it's easier for the farmer. It's better for the consumer because the costs come down. And I mean, it's better for the planet because it's like, to get those nursery plants that are in their retail like rooms looking nice, like they juice them up on fertilizers. They have everything in these manufactured environments, so they got to use pesticides and herbicides. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, why are people doing it that way? It's like, oh, because the profit margin on a $120 walnut is higher than my $20 Asian pear, and that's great. But it's like, how are we going to get people growing tree crops then? Like, we're not. So.
Well, it's also like there's a lot of pressure if you buy something bare root. Like, you better be ready. Your site has to be ready.
Oh yeah.
You're just shopping around at the nursery. You buy something in a pot. You can sit on your deck for like weeks, and you just keep it watered, and you put it in when it's ready, right? Like that's what I find.
Yeah.
Trying to get people to like buy plugs.
Yeah.
Out of pot, but it's a hard sell. It's only like the hardcore people who know, like, oh yeah, we should plant in fall when things
Yeah.
and I'm ready to buy plugs. But everyone else is like, Mother's Day, it's time to plant stuff.
Totally. Yeah, and I mean that's cool. We don't need everybody on board. If you're talking about the folks that are just only the hardcores are going to do it, cool. Let them lead the pack. I don't think we need. This is the thing. It was like we don't need everybody on board. We just need like good, solid leadership. I don't really trust those people anyways to get a lot done. I think the hardcore people are going to be the ones that get done anyways. So there should be an outlet for folks to find this stuff at reasonable prices and so that they can go big. And I mean, planting a smaller plant is just generally better anyways. So I don't know. It's a combination of like finding your audience and educating your audience simultaneously. I mean, I really appreciate you guys coming out because it's like we can talk about this. We can put it out there for people to witness and hopefully we're going to change that culture slowly. But I think it's one of those things where it doesn't take all of us to get on board, just enough of us to be the leaders in trying this stuff out.
Have you ever worked out like your own profit margins or how much you're actually making once you factor in all your time and inputs and everything?
I know it's getting better.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you.
Can you afford dentistry?
Yes. Yeah, totally.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. I took a vacation this summer, couple.
Good.
I know, right? I mean, I feel bad for the veggie farmers. They're like, I got to get to market. Like, oh my God, we have to harvest at 4 a.m. or else it's not going to look good. What are you doing for night market on Friday? I'm like, I'm going to go hang out with my friends and just enjoy myself. It's a different game when you're in the nursery stuff, but no, I mean that's definitely like we should do this for the love and the passion of it, but like we got to sustain it, right? And you should be able to make money doing it. So I don't know. I don't do volunteers out here. I appreciate when friends come out just to like hang out, but if I can't run my business and pay people to like at a good wage to help me run my business, then I shouldn't be in business.
How many employees do you have?
And he's here 1 day a week for a few months of the year. So, I mean, I work a lot, but, hopefully that gets easier. The cash flow gets better. I can get him out for more days. Because we could expand a bit, but, I'm almost interested more in kind of salary capping myself and just having a more full life. So I'm not just at work all the time. I want to get a lot of trees out. I think we sell somewhere around 10,000 a year, go out of here. But I'm not looking to turn that number into 50,000. I'd rather inspire 5 more farms to do this stuff. So, yeah. Our time is definitely dwindling a little bit. Yeah, go for it.
Can you talk about your integrative pest management system?
Okay, talking about integrated pest management. Grow healthy plants, and that's not to shoot like
nematodes or
no. I mean, the sprays that we talked about, like highly mineralized plants, are pest resistant. but certainly the more inputs that you're adding into the system to solve symptoms without addressing underlying like imbalances, that you're just going to create perpetual work for yourself. So diversity, block planting, no huge, amounts of things. I definitely have the pollinator support and insect support to attract the beneficials, is a big part of it. I guess one major input that I do purchase, I think that I could recommend would be silica. And it's used at such a low amount, right? I mean, we're talking 2 mils per gallon or something like that.
Just like add horsetail to your...
You could ferment the horsetail, right?
Yeah.
Apparently you can...
It's everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
Compacted and
Yep.
many areas moist, not
Rice hulls would be another way, right? So yeah, there are all ways that you can source this stuff yourself. I will say from a practical aspect, I'm trying to be more like intelligent with where I put my resources. Like I could make everything myself. I could work 90 hours a week and do all this and not have any employees. And at a certain point, you got to just take the easy, the path of least resistance, as long as it's still meeting my ethics of, doing good in the world in all the different ways I see fit. Like, I don't need to prove to myself that I'm capable of doing it all. Like,
you gotta juggle the returns.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I was expecting to see a whole bunch of nasturtiums or certain, but you've got lots of pollinating flowers that are bringing in.
Yeah, and honestly, like they can nibble. Go have a taste, dude. It's like, it's not really slowing down my. I don't need to have just the biggest of everything and like, oh my God, it hurt this, so it didn't get as big as it could. It's like, they'll bounce back. They're supposed to. And yeah, so.
No issues with like powdery mildew or?
No, I don't grow in a greenhouse. I don't know.
Me neither, but I got it in my field, so.
What are you growing? Yeah, of course. Yeah, and you're growing a plant that has been bred to death, right? So it's so far away from its wild state that it doesn't have any of its natural defenses anymore in favor of its large flowering capability. And that's kind of what happens. And it's not just like a quarter acre, it's a lot.
It's not just out there on its own, but.
Yeah. I think it's hard. I mean, there's all these things you can do, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's just like if you have a large concentration of anything, there's nothing you can really do to stop some kind of disease pressure from trying to balance that system, because you just gave it a bunch of its food, and what do you expect it to do? Like, the K&F stuff definitely helps, though.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So let's migrate out. There's so many different utilities of elderberry, so to have it on the edge of your plantings are really good. These are not the native ones, and just save you the grief now, native elderberries you cannot propagate from cuttings. Has anybody tried and failed?
Oh yeah.
Oh dude, yeah, they don't go.
Need everything. Now I'm just like, the only way to propagate is to notice, oh, a new elderberry has popped up on my property.
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
Like,
The seed is double dormant, so you have to warm stratify it for a whole year before it germinates the following year.
right.
But it will. But it takes 2 years.
It gets stuck in the crop of a certain bird.
Yeah, totally. So elderberries are great for so many different reasons. So I definitely wanted to highlight those that grow fast. And, elderberry as a medicinal is probably one of the most recognized medicinal that there is. So it's just a big, wide open market. If you want some inspiration, check out Elderberry Grove. That's Jed and Louise. They're awesome. They got all the good varieties, so they're definitely worth chatting to about that stuff. They freeze dry stuff. They sell syrups. So yeah, these are our grafted apples. And yeah, if you guys kind of come towards it, you can look at the graft unions. The $80 trees you see at Canadian Tire, right? Like this is what they're doing. Those companies will stake their apples so they're perfectly straight, and they grow them for 2 years, so the caliper gets to a nice size. I mean, honestly, I'll be probably chopping the tops out of these just to get them to store well, right? So because you can only store a 5-6 foot tree, and then at a certain point it's got to get cut off. But my God, they grow fast. So that's kind of the nice thing about clonal stuff. When you graft it, it's this tree thinks it's a fully mature tree because that's where the scion wood came from. So it's going to produce faster. It's going to be precocious to have a bunch of crop earlier in its life cycle. And then we're pairing a disease and pest resistant rootstock with a productive scion on top. So apples are one of the easiest things you can graft. Cherries are decently easy to graft as well. But definitely if you're going to try your hand out at it, start with apples. And I mean, as simple as just you can grow apples from seed for 1 year, and then you take those seedlings and graft onto them with a neighbor's scion variety the next year, and then it's going to work, and you're going to be like, whoa, that was easy. So it's definitely something worth trying out. It's fun. There's so many different methods. We use the whip and tongue for bench grafting in the spring, but you can chip bud, you can graft onto existing trees. There is amazing YouTube videos on this. Skills Cult is a really good resource. This guy is very practical, very experienced, and there's a bunch of content online. There's good books and stuff. I think it's the Grafter's Bible is another good one. But something I'll point out is that they'll send up side shoots and suckers off the rootstock, and some of the most maintenance I have to do in here is just pruning that off. Right, yeah, you can kind of see that. So in that case, I'll pop that off just so that it's growing a single stem, and then it can start forming its crown later in life, but to have it grow as a single trunk, straight up tree. And that's why you can stake them too. So, something to briefly touch on, staking things for winter protection is really good, right? Because of the snow load that we get. But if you're gonna stake something, stake the whole tree. If you only stake up to here, then the snow is going to push it over its stake and snap it. So definitely be aware of that when you're staking trees. And yeah, guys, that's...
Producing your own rootstock?
No, well, I did for a while, and then we just got to a scale where it was this isn't worth it when I can buy a rootstock for $1.50. So yeah, phytosanitary import certificates. You got to bring them up from the States. There are some places in Canada, but for the most part, it's.
Does you need a certain rootstock that's going to give it certain characteristics?
Yeah, I want something that is adaptable with different types, that is not dwarfing, not full size. You can call it semi-dwarf. Yeah, so you get the size requirement, and then any rootstock's going to have some kind of pest resistance or disease resistance built into it. So that's kind of all the things that you consider. But it's hard in Canada. It's not actually easy to find that much rootstock. And as kind of just a home grower, you're kind of limited to, I'm not going to sell rootstock. But you can certainly grow apples from seed yourself. And this is where it's just that badass tree on the side of the road that doesn't need any help. Yeah, get some apples. I mean, that stratification is really easy. You can literally let the fruit rot on the ground and then take all that mush up in the spring and spread it out over a growing bed, and you'll get apples. And they'll grow quickly, right? They'll grow into a full size, something like this in 1 year. So pencil thickness is about where you want it to be when you graft onto it. And there's definitely really good resources in the Kootenays. So Frank and Libby, take their course. They're out in Arrow Park, right? Or Deer Park? Yeah, and they're badass. They know so much more than I do about this. I was just resistant to grafting for a little while because I was it's an elite activity.
And Kim has her grafting course. That's pretty great.
Yeah. So again?
I've done a grafting course a few times too, and that one's pretty great.
Yeah, totally. I need to take it. But the apples are easy. There's the walnuts get complicated because there's heat collars around the graft unions that you got to use, and so that gets a little advanced. But I think that concludes our field tour. I hope you guys have lots of questions and topics we can discuss. Let's go do it over lunch. Does that sound good? Well, and that's kind of the good part, because I mean, I've had I remember this these two grandma ladies came out from Creston, and they're picking up their order, and she's just we were wondering what your name meant, and when my granddaughter told me, I laughed. I was like, that's awesome. And if you don't like it, then I'm not for you. So yeah. So anyways, that's the best of it. You out here, Kate?
Yep. Gotta get back.
Have a good one.
Nice to meet everybody.
See ya. I'm gonna pass around. I got 3 berry crops that maybe you've never tried before. These are the Goumi berries. There's also the sea berries, and then the aronia berries. Take as many as you want. Try them out. They're unwashed and totally good to go. So. Yeah, anyways, thanks for that question, though. Definitely worth clarifying. It's definitely not the easiest name to say to someone, so I don't know if I nailed it on that, but it's authentic, I guess. I don't know. It's
Well, I'll tell my mom when I get back there.
Yeah.
Because she was wondering.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I bet.
And I didn't have an explanation.
No. I'd say there's our mascot is a fox. Try to find him, but I don't know.
Yeah, right.
You can't.
Any other?
I've eaten the seafood.
Yeah. Any questions, girls?
Any
question at all?
It's wide open, dude.
They're okay.
I'd love to hear anything you could share on germinating seeds.
Yeah,
any tips
okay.
or tricks, and then also if you have further resources.
Sure, because we didn't talk about that much. Just because there's so much to cover down there, I didn't show you my seed pit or how I stratify things. So yeah, let's start with the resources. So the DIR manual is a really good one. So that's DIRR. That's Woody Plant Propagation. It's going to give you stratification times for seed, also like, hormone dips for like cuttings and stuff like that.
Do you do all that? Like, are you really technical with your germination?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be if you want to get them to germinate. I mean, a lot of these edible things are easy compared to some of the native stuff. Yeah. But, and then Kate was just showing me there is a resource, it's like the native plant like propagation guide for BC.
Online?
Yeah, it's a PDF. I guess they can send it to you for $12, but so anyways, there's a couple resources there. And then I can just tell you a bit about what I do. So yeah, just a bit of a primer on stratification. So cold stratification, warm stratification. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but it's just this built-in mechanism so the seed doesn't just germinate as soon as it comes off the plant. So cold stratification means it has to have its winter to basically accumulate enough cold days so that then it can get signaled to germinate. Warm stratification is somewhat similar. It's enough warm days above a certain temperature, usually for embryo development, before it can actually enter cold stratification. So knowing those times are key. Like I said, drying stuff, or when stuff dries out, is usually pretty problematic. Though there are exceptions, some things need to be dried out. And that's trial and error. You can figure that stuff out. But what I did, it's like, okay, how do you stratify but keep it all in one place? But I don't like doing stuff in the refrigerator, though you can do stuff in the refrigerator. And so I use these little, I think they're called Organa bags on Amazon, but they're these little mesh bags. And so they're big enough for, small seeded, like large lots of small seed or just like, a handful of nuts. Basically I can just, they'll breathe, and then I can pack them full of wet seed and sand and a label. And then I have my bag that I'm going to be stratifying the seed in. And at that point, it's going to go into whatever my seed pit is. Now, this could be the refrigerator. If it is, you need to put it in a Ziploc bag because refrigerators dry stuff out, right? I like trying to just use the outside. There's way less chance of like molding or freezing. So literally you can just dig a pit and line it with hardware cloth so rodents can't get into it. And then you can bury seeds in that. I have a crate with like a false bottom. And then so I'll fill that with sand and then just be adding these bags, these mesh bags full of seed lots into them. And then I'll bury that crate in the ground. So it's kind of just getting your natural seasonal temps. So
you're always seeding in the spring then?
No, I mean, I'll definitely direct seed in the fall in some of those like air prune beds. But that's where I'm seeding. Like if you had like, the handheld box I kind of gave you an example of. So if you planted that in the fall and then dug a hole or just had a wood chip pile so that it can't stay above the ground and freeze, it needs to be insulated. But it also can't be warm like in your garage because it won't stratify properly. So at that point, it's like you need to get it insulated but at ambient temperatures. So honestly, just a hole in the ground or a wood chip pile, and you bury those boxes and then hardware cloth or top, and then rodents can't get them, but they're also exposed to just the natural fluctuations, and they'll wake up at the right time. Otherwise, I mean, definitely a tip to know that I learned later is that when things germinate, it's not the end of the world. Like we germinate in storage. So like I've opened up batches of seed and been like, oh my God, it's all germinating, and still planted them afterwards, and then they take just fine. So that's kind of like it's a trial and error thing, but you know, if it's germinating, great. That means that you have viable seed. And often it's like I'll keep my seeds in cold storage or in their, you know, cold stratifying state until I start seeing some start to pop. And then once you start seeing a few pop, you're like, cool, it's time, into the air prune bed or into a growing bed. And then it's fingers crossed.
But if you're keeping stuff outside in the ambient temperatures, that pass made me lose my train of thought. That's okay. If you're keeping stuff outside in the ambient temperature, so then you're just like you're just pushing aside your mulch or whatever your insulation is and checking on them.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Well, totally. Unburying the seed pit, and then I have my little bags, and I open them up, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, oh, you still need time. Or like, oh my God, they're all germinating. Or ideally, a couple are germinating, and it's time to go in.
But if I'm like, so thus far, I've only been collecting basically during summer and fall, collecting my seed and then seeding in that fall. So for that type of thing, do you think it would be important for me to, like, how would I store my seeds between like now and November?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just get like for the non-king cherry that I just like harvested. So I clean the seed and then I pack them in these wet sand bags, mesh bags. And then I have like a crate that's just full of sand, wet sand, and that I could have pointed it out down at the field, but they just live in there until it's time to bury them in the fall. Yeah, totally. Because it's kind of whatever would happen in nature, right? Like you're trying to just mimic that. And so earlier season seed likely needs more embryo development and warm stratification. And then, you know, cross-reference that with these propagation books, and you can see, it's pretty interesting too, because like you'd think they'd have all the answers, but they don't. They're like, one grower did this, and I'm like, isn't this a scientific publication? They're just like referencing one or two growers. So it's kind of like you got to just figure it out. And I mean, you know, I was like, oh, you do it one way and another way. It's like, who has time for that? Do it one way. If it works, keep doing it that way. And if it doesn't work, do it a different way. And if that doesn't work, don't give up. Try it a third way. Like, you know, and eventually you'll figure it out.
Cool.
Yeah.
So clean seed, mesh bags, wet sand.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yeah, totally. When you collect seed, definitely crack open a couple and make sure there's a white embryo. Because you could be doing everything right and you could just have empty seed lots. You know, and then you're like, oh, I did something wrong. It's like, you didn't do anything wrong. It was just a bad growing season for that batch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the only seeds with green on the inside that are viable are like maples.
Okay.
Yeah, but most other seeds should be white on the inside when it's like ready to go. Yeah.
And that would be, it would already be white at the time of collection. You wouldn't have to let it sit there. And well, you were saying sometimes
embryo develops, but it should be white, like when you harvest it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. And just to expand on that, so it's like I have like stratification buckets. So definitely, if you're like gonna collect your own seed to grow yourself, you know, like the acorns on Baker Street or Vernon in Nelson, like there's tons of them. So I just take a big bucket, like a 5-gallon bucket. I drill holes in the bottom, drill holes in the lid, and then I'll just be layering in sand and nuts. So kind of a 1-to-1 ratio of just like I put down a layer of nuts, then I put down a layer of sand and repeat that until the bucket's full. If you want multiple in one bucket, you can have like these mesh bags, like the bigger mesh bags, and stack them all together. Label your stuff, where you collected it, and then you'll see them popping. You know, usually by March you want to start checking. So.
Hey Brian, does the sand have to be pure clean sand, or could you use garden sandy loam?
Yeah, honestly, whatever. I mean, it just needs to hold water.
Okay.
Yeah, I think with the finer the seed, sometimes I sift it, so I'm not like confused of like that pebble is a seed. But I'm not often planting in rows with especially the small seeds. Like collect way too much seed always, because it's not gonna go as well as you hope. And I just kind of scatter it, but the sand actually helps spread the seed. So if I were to like decant it and wash off all the sand and then just have the pure Saskatoon seed, tiny little seeds, it would actually be physically hard to spread it across the bed efficiently. Whereas if it's mixed in with like sand, it's much easier to spread. I just do it in a way where it's like I sift the sand ahead of time, so I'm not like confused of what's a seed and what's a pebble. So, yeah.
Have you germinated Goumi?
Yeah. That definitely needs a warm stratification. So I just got done harvesting those. Yeah, did everybody get a chance to try some of those berries?
Yeah,
They're good, right? They're not. Yeah. Some guy was like, "Oh, you're gonna need to." I forget what he said. He's like, "You could swig a bunch of like vinegar after that. Those are so sour." I'm like,
Sour? No, they're sweet.
"Yeah, well, like, what do you eat, dude? Like, this is just do you not drink water and it's just pure Kool-Aid all the time? Like."
I'm trying to sell that guy Cornelius.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. No.
Seabuckthorn was fairly
The
sour.
Seabuckthorn, what would you do with it?
Yeah. So I mean, that is yes. So you can just blend. I would try to get like you freeze the Seabuckthorn in the freezer, and then you're able to knock the berries off with like a fork, much easier from the woody parts.
Okay, yeah.
And then even then, there's going to be some woody debris left in there.
You mean what to do with it to eat it, or what
Yeah.
to do with it
To use it.
propagate?
Yeah. To eat it. Yeah. That's what I'm. So yeah. You.
Is that what you're
Yeah.
speaking to? Or
Yeah.
this? Okay.
Yeah, totally. No, into a freezer it goes, and then you can just take a fork and scrape off all the berries from like the woody parts.
Okay.
There'll still be like bits of wood and leaf in there that you're like, I'm not just gonna eat handfuls of this stuff.
Yeah.
Though I do it because I'm a weirdo. But into a blender, like a handful of berries or like a little handful of berries into like a fair amount of water. Blend that and then just strain it, and the juice is like bright orange, and like for the winter, it's like drinking sunshine. Yeah,
We were talking about this before.
exactly.
Yeah, the sea buckthorn and the aronia are both used as flavoring,
CG.
coloring agents in parts of Europe. Oh, wow. Like popularly, you would just find it.
Nelson.
Thanks for coming out. Yeah, if you have any questions ever, just hit me up. Good luck with everything, eh?
I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, like, I'm moving on to my property in Salmo. It's a small place.
Yeah.
I want to fence it, do a permaculture, like, food everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm having some hard times deciding what to do with the different zones and spaces and, like, identifying everything because I haven't observed it enough.
Sure.
So I'm at planning stages.
Yeah.
Would I be able to, like, at that turning point when I'm like, okay, I have a good idea for the uses of the different spaces, would you advise on, like, which plants, like, especially the trees? Like, I want to, have a bit of a perimeter, but do you do that at all? Or it's
like consulting work?
Yeah. Just like, here, this is a good layout.
Eventually, yes.
Right.
Right now, I'm trying to perfect the farming thing pretty well.
Yeah.
And there's so many ideas, so I definitely have lots, and I think it's kind of a scale thing. Like, I mean, my goal is to be able to like speak to farmers about putting in these larger systems for like big food production.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people who are on homestead level, like, you can seek out professional advice, and their opinion isn't that far away from your opinion.
Well, yeah, like I've got a hot zone where I'm like, I've always wanted winter hardy kiwi or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And, I want to have some grapes and I want some shade in the back because it's all open, big light, great soil.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I've got a whole bunch of ideas and you don't necessarily have to go out there, but I'm like, okay, of the selection of products that you have, what would be your advisement?
Do you do like a 20-minute call?
Oh, I was doing stuff like that. Yeah, it's all shifted around.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was like offering one for like, anyways, yeah, I can certainly tell you what will grow in your zone, and then kind of like chat with you, and like, it doesn't really make sense for me to recommend something. You're like, yeah, but I don't really want to eat that. Like, I don't eat pears.
Totally.
I'm like, but they grow great for you. It's like, whatever. Or like learning more about like, all right, I want to integrate animal systems into this. Like, those would be kind of the conversations that I have, and that's what I do when I talk to customers. They're just kind of like, what grows well in this zone? I'm like, well, lots of stuff, but what do you want?
Yeah, what kind of height do you want? Like, do you want chickens underneath there?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
So understanding like limiting factors.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, you know what, my son is allergic to hazelnuts and we can't have any hazelnuts. So, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's start talking about other stuff. So like, yeah, going through kind of a questionnaire process.
Selection.
Yeah, totally. We've been discussing building like an AI tool, so we can have AI Brian to make some recommendations
There
for
you
you. Yeah. But in the short term, what I would say is that any advice I could give you about where to put stuff is going to be almost as worth as much as what your intuition is. And remember, like, intuition isn't just trusting your gut. It's either, it's following that heart instinct and also pausing and being like, wait, we need more information, right? That observation principle.
Yeah. Like
So-
I need to watch the wind and the sun, and I need to observe which way the water is going to go.
Yeah.
Right? Like those are the pieces.
For a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I recognize that. But I'm like at this
you're
excited phase where I'm like, the south side of the
Yeah.
house. Do I want a deck there or peaches?
Yeah.
Like, right? It's like,
So let me counter that in a way with like, just go for it.
Yeah.
Ben Falk talks about, people like make these like perfect orchard designs and they wait and they do the observation thing. And then finally it's time to go hammer it in and they go dig that first hole and there's a friggin' boulder right there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you would have found that out a lot earlier if you had just gone for it.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, like be that like initial succession driving force of just like, we're going to try some stuff. It's not all going to make it. It might grow great, and then I figure out that I don't want a peach tree right there, and you're going to rip it out.
Yeah.
You just got to be comfortable with wasting time, because there is no waste of time. It's just feedback.
yeah.
So go for it. Make like the risks as affordable as you can. Trust that intuition, whether it says wait or go, right? And yeah, I mean, just diversity is king.
Totally.
So-
I'm like, I want 200 different species.
Yeah.
Food bearing.
Also,
Yeah.
forget
Cool.
this like spiral garden keyline or keyhole bed. Straight rows are awesome.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Like,
Oh, yeah. 7 raised beds. The back is the garden.
Yeah.
Like the fire pit is the centerpiece.
Yeah.
The food.
So don't be resistant to straight lines.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is not too specific, but
Yeah.
I haven't been in a place where it was sub-irrigated before. Now, like there's a large part that is
Sure.
a floodplain, and
Ditches.
and then every year the water comes up, or most years the water will come
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
So I'm now really hunting and learning about trees that it would be okay with being wet feet.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you have like shrubs or trees that you recommend.
Yeah, I mean, totally. Like Aronia is a riparian one, but instead of we could talk about swamp white oak and any of the hickory carya species. Yeah, they can deal with wet a little better, but and I mean, there's exceptions to that. Like bitternut does dry stuff better. But instead of talking about species specific, a technique you can try, like chestnuts don't like wet feet, but I know you want to grow chestnuts. I know you do.
Yeah.
Thinking about, exactly. So the pit and mound was the cradle and bed. And so what that's mimicking is like, you imagine a forest and you have trees falling over, or big root ball rips out, right? It decomposes. Boom, there's your mound. Where did it rip out from? Boom, there's your cradle, right? And so, creating these mound kind of formations. And so you're planting on top of that in the wet area. So that you're like, look, like the water table is going to come up, but because we're up on this, elevated mound type of earthwork, right? Like it's going to be able to tolerate it. And then that water table comes down and then it loves life because it has all the water it needs while still not having that wet feet approach. So, you can go like the pit and mound method, and also, looking into keyline. So moving water out from the valleys to the ridges, even on very like low angled ground, right?
Right.
And it's not going to cancel out your sub-irrigation, but it's going to hopefully get you through that part where it's like, otherwise those roots would just rot and not want to grow there. So, no, that's not too specific at all. That's fun.
Okay.
I like it. But there are definitely like wet tolerant species you can focus on.
Yeah.
And I think there's cultivars within that. Like there's dryland elderberries that you can focus on, and then there's wet loving elderberries.
Right.
Same thing with mulberries, right? Just because something's riparian doesn't mean it's going to love the wet. It means it can grow near the wet, you know? So consider that. And then, get feedback, like certainly look at what's growing where. And
Yeah, right now it's just a native hawthorn
Sure.
and lots of hawthorn and willow, and some dogwood.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's kind of established.
Well, and then so you can expand that out. So it's like, what's hawthorn related? It's like it's in the apple family, right? So you start playing around with different members of the Rosaceae family. Same thing with dogwoods, right? Like you're talking about red osier, but maybe Cornelian cherry does grow well there. And you could start growing bunchberries and all sorts of different dogwoods. So, I'd say definitely try to gain that information from what's there. and then just go for it. Propagate stuff that does well in wet areas, because there's definitely a lot of affordability in just playing with stuff.
Awesome. Thank you.
For sure.
Anybody? Question?
Any other? We also just sit and chat and not with the cameras on, but any other formal questions? Okay. Well, then we'll just wrap this part up, but we're not kicking anybody out. There's still